Keir Starmer's Labour government has a major shift in their immigration in 2025 immigration plan. And I think this because they're very worried because of their unpopularity and they think Nigel Farage is going to win. So they're coming and saying that they're going to be very strict on immigration and they have a major new plan. First of all, the speech that I listened to, I think Keir Starmer himself would categorize that like just 2 years ago as something racist and maybe even worthy of arrest. But the fact that they are speaking the things that they used to call racist, everybody should hate them for this because this is so you lied basically. You say this as if you were gonna forget that you would call people who say these things racist before. Like, where's the apology? Where's like you guys were right and we were wrong admission? Like you hear none of that, right? They were like, "Oh, we should not let these." The speech sounds like he's trying to look very aggressive against low-skilled immigration from people from like with shitty cultures coming in and ruining. He's like, "We should stop this." Like, motherfucker, Anyways, better late than never. But it was so weird because let me look at the shift. The UK is moving from, they're saying they're moving from being one of the most open European countries to one of the strictest, which is, by the way, weird because the Brexit was happened because they didn't want to be this open to immigration like like European countries. But after Brexit happened, they became more open to immigration than other European countries. So I don't know what the point of Brexit was then. But here's the part that I found bizarre. Let me actually, I'm not going to bore you with all the details. So they're saying that they are, so people who are low skilled, they'll and have cultures that are not compatible and that don't speak English. So this is what they're going to do. This is the very strict thing that they're going to do. So they're going to change the wait times for these types of people from 5 years to 10 years. I'm like, wait a minute. You're saying that people who are lower, like a drain on society, don't contribute, don't speak English, low skilled workers, that your analysis shows that there's a net loss for your country. You're still, after admitting all of that in your own report, you're like, oh, we're just going to accept them later. Right? Like, what the like, I don't know, am I missing something here? I don't know, guys, if you guys seen Starmer's speech and the new plan that they have, but I don't understand, why would you allow them? Like, what is this obligation? Do they feel like they have to let them in? And also, a lot of people were pointing out that even the people that they want to identify for deportation and not extending their stay in the UK, they're not going to actually send any forces to kick them out. They're just going to not extend their visa, but they're not actually going to put any forces in going in and finding these people and kicking them out. Anyways, I was wondering if anybody has seen this or if anybody has an opinion about this. I think, yeah, go on. So I see who's.
I actually had Andre on queue and then Hila.
I mean, that's kind of a baked-in problem, and it's probably very interesting what you say, because one of the Western values we are defending is the right to asylum, and is the acceptance of people immigrating. If we abandon that, then we abandon what the Western culture, one of the values the Western culture stands on, and one of the values which in many cases has created also positive effects. I want to get low-skilled worker who don't contribute enough to my society, not in here. Well, immigration is a multi-generation issue. Take the Irish in America. When they came in, they were discriminated against. They had, a lot of hurdles to overcome. And then, of course, today in America, they're fully integrated and they are as productive as other previous or later waves of immigrants. How useful for a country an immigration group has to do initially with how they came in and what background they brought with them. When I look at immigration, we have another phenomenon besides of the cultural thing they bring with them. Who has the initiative to leave their country? It's not necessarily worse people. The people who leave have the initiative to go away or go somewhere else. I don't know many people have changed their country because they didn't like it where they were. That takes initiatives. And there's a positive aspect to people who immigrate.
Right.
It's important that we don't just dismiss immigration as something bad, but we define under what circumstances is it good and what is bad when people immigrate and stay in this immigration status. How do we control this? And what consequences do we need for the people to integrate? And then we are back at the point of assimilation, which Jewish people did very good for many, many thousand years, and which other populations don't do because their overall cultural makeup doesn't lend itself to do that. So I want to caution against a summary rejection of ideas like immigration and assimilation.
All right. Thank you. And now we have Hila.
Hi, Shalom. I want to talk about Britain, about what you are saying. I remember during the Brexit, I went to visit my friend. She was studying there, her master. All her friends group were people internationally from different places. And when they used to travel outside the city of London, they used to get a lot of hate, and it was usual that people will slur them, racist stuff, because they are from different nationalities, even though it's obvious they are students and not workers or refugees or anything like that, and they contribute to the economy, but that was they are used to it during the Brexit. Everything was so, I don't know, tension was really high, but we were having a conversation with these guys and they were like asking me about, oh yeah, but also Zionists are bad. And I'm like, what? I'm a Zionist. And my friend is kicking me under the table because she cannot say it to her friends. And they are friends for many years there. And she's like kicking me, don't bring this subject up, because she was so afraid from their hate. So they have many issues together that are not, I don't know how they can live with this. From one hand, they want an open society, they don't want an open society. It feels like they are hateful people and there are really bad political sides inside this country. And I don't know, they have a big problem with this. I think their leaders are afraid of many groups inside, and what they say on the outside, they don't say on the inside. So it's a big mystery, but they're hateful, I guess. I don't know what happened to them. That's it.
And now Tom, Armin, and myself.
And Jacob raised his hand as well, and he wrote it in the chat.
All right.
You could raise your hand like this, by the way, guys. Like this. Tom, go ahead.
Okay, so it was Andre. Am I spelling the name correctly?
Yes.
That's fine.
So you said that there's something like the right to asylum, but I don't think that's the case. That there's no right to asylum. There are countries that are generous enough to take asylum seekers. And one of the most important rules for the asylum seekers is to seek asylum from the first country that you can seek refugee status in. For example, if you are living in Afghanistan and you end up in Denmark and trying to seek asylum, you're not an asylum seeker. You're someone who wants to, explore the world for a better life. That's not seeking asylum. Okay? And some people are not trying to be shitty, that's what you said, but they're also not in danger. Okay? So if you want to be an asylum seeker, there are many parameters that you should actually, for example, you should feel unsafe in your country. If you want to go to France to live a better life and get a better paying job, that's not seeking asylum. Okay? And you talked about Irish people being integrated in USA easily. Well, they're coming from somehow a similar culture, but people from Islamic countries wouldn't integrate much easily in such countries, and they're really really much more harder to be integrated in the countries than, for example, Irish people.
Can I answer?
Do you want to give him a rebuttal or go with the list?
I would like to
You could.
rebuttal that.
Okay. Just we should come up with a rebuttal time versus when it's your turn time. Like maybe like the when it's your turn, you get 2 minutes, but when it's your rebuttal, we do 30 seconds. Is that a good rule? Right now, the rule that we have for when it's your turn is 2 minutes, right? And when rebuttal, we could do it like 30 seconds if somebody wants to do a rebuttal.
30 seconds, Andre. The floor is yours, please.
So number one, I didn't say the Irish had an easy time integrating in America or assimilating. I said they had a difficult time, but today they're good. There are people who wanted to seek asylum in other countries than just the one next door during the Second World War, and their ship was sent around the Mediterranean and then sent back to Germany, and then they got killed. Asylum is something very different from immigration. Asylum is you have a legitimate reason to leave where you are and go somewhere else, and any country it takes you. Be precise. Don't just say, "Oh, this is," what you do is you try to eliminate asylum and you mix them with immigration, and you don't talk about the merits of one or the other. And yes, you're right. People from Islamic countries will have a much bigger problem to assimilate because of the cultural background. But that's not an argument against asylum or against immigration.
I think 30 seconds is not enough.
It's not an argument.
So
Okay.
okay. So should I wait for the rebuttal?
Yeah, have Armin, I think that a minute is more
Okay.
a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
you decide. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Tom, you have a minute.
Oh, okay. I actually need less. I don't want to talk that long. So you okay? So I know there's a difference between immigration and seeking asylum, but what I was talking about was that you should seek asylum in the first country that you can feel safe in. You cannot move past 20 countries to get inside the country and say, okay, I'm trying to seek asylum here. Well, no, you should have tried to seek asylum in the first country back where you came from, the first, which is more close to you, not Denmark, for example. The Irish people had a different time being integrated, but what I'm telling you is that people from Islamic countries would have a much more difficult time being integrated in such countries.
Okay. That was on the dot. Very good. Armin?
Yeah. So I actually didn't think Tom was mixing asylum seekers and immigration. I thought that was the problem with the original point being made by Andre. Maybe I would misunderstood that because I thought asylum and immigration was being mixed over there. And I think the people who are actually mixing asylum cases with immigrations are the people, like the asylum seekers themselves, because the vast majority of these people who are seeking doing asylum cases, they should be rejected because they're economic migrants pretending to be asylum seekers, right? And they're picking the countries that they are going to based on where they want to live, not based on running away from immediate danger. The vast majority of these people are just migrating because they want a better lifestyle, not because their lives are in danger. And by doing that, they're actually doing a huge disservice to people's lives who are in danger, because now a lot of those people don't have access to the asylum seeking process. Also, I think nobody here is arguing completely against immigration. We're arguing against mass migration. We're arguing against illegal migration, but we're also arguing against legal migration from shithole places with inferior culture. And the Irish is not even comparable, because the Irish, anybody who was against the Irish, why would you be against the Irish? They have the same value structure. So just because some people were retarded against the Irish, that doesn't mean that being against people coming from shithole places, wanting to turn your countries, your societies into shithole societies. Just because they were wrong doesn't mean we are wrong. Their values are completely incompatible with us. The Irish were here to build. These people are here to destroy and take. So I think that's a false analogy. Also, I looked this up, and you don't actually have a right to asylum. The international gives you a right to seek asylum. So you have the right to seek asylum, but you don't actually have a right to be given asylum. You're muted.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would completely agree with all that. Number one, I'm not against asylum, I'm against hijra. I think that there's a difference there. I'm pro immigrants, I'm not pro hijra. That's one thing. The other thing is that you mentioned is Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer is a wanker. Just wanted to put it there. And about asylum, I think that you need to show me as a country, as a whatever, you need to show me that there is a immediate threat to your life where you are. And so you need some sort of relief. But you don't get to choose the holiday package. Your geography is supposed to dictate a lot. So if you are looking for a refuge because there's an immediate threat to your life and you live in Morocco, it makes sense that you will go to France. If you live in Syria, what the hell do you have to look in France? I mean, go to Jordan. It's the neighboring country. Go to Turkey. It's the neighboring country. What are you doing in France? Yeah, that's pretty much my point. Jacob?
Yeah, hey guys, I'm here.
Yes. Jacob, then Andre, and then Armin, did you raise your hand?
Oscar. Yes, I'd raise my hand and then Oscar.
Okay, so
But Oscar can go first.
Jacob, Andre, Oscar, and Armin.
Well, thanks
Go,
guys for having me on. I was just finding really to like clarify when it comes to like the Irish migration to the United States, or for instance, like
Your
dogs.
audio, Jacob, your audio is very low. Can you come closer, like do something? I think you're covering your mic or something.
No, I'm not covering it. It should be better now.
a
Okay,
little.
speak louder if you can. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Let me try and fix it. I'm gonna hop out.
Okay, why won't you let's go to the next person. Okay, so let's go with Andre right now.
Okay, Asi. So actually, I don't really agree with you. No, well, the Irish are a really good example for that. A huge wave of Irish immigrants came as a result of the potato famine. So they were economical refugees, like people who live in a country where there's a famine, and so they came to go to a different country. And the next question is the next country next door. Well, Egypt doesn't take any Palestinians in. Why? Because they don't want to, and they may have good reasons or not. So actually, yes, it's not a right of asylum, but the right to seek for. And we, as civilized countries, as the values we stand for, take the cultural responsibility to say, yes, we will grant asylum under certain specific circumstances. To mix them with those people who use asylum seeking as a weapon to infiltrate, or who are once maybe for right reasons run away to a different country where we take them, but then are unwilling to assimilate or to accept those values. These are specific issues. What I'm concerned with what I hear in this discussion is a general rejection of immigration and an attack on people being able to go away from bad circumstances. Hunger is an economical thing. But yes, I think people should have the right to leave a country and go somewhere where they have a better life, also out of economical reasons. And by the way, look at America, right? That's why you came to America, to make a better life. And that made America a better country, as long as the people there wanted to support the fundamental values. So I very much want to caution against being not specific enough which groups we're talking about. People who go to a different country because they have a political reason to do so, because they want to infiltrate them, or they have an ideology or does that, that's one story, and we can regulate that. We can say, okay, these are the value, these are the rules we set for your immigration. But the moment we go and say all the people from this country or this whole concept is wrong, then we allow, for example, them to change our values. We cannot allow Islam to change our values indiscriminately just because they do something specific.
Okay. I have a very short rebuttal. If the question is what type of immigrant is this, if it's a asylum seeker or looking for job opportunities, so me as a state, I'm supposed to be able to say whether you are beneficial to me or not and accept you or not. If it is an economical issue, then I'm supposed to do as a country what's economical correct right now for me. That's my rebuttal.
That's the difference between immigration and asylum.
Hold on. It's my turn, right? Because I have so much to say.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay.
Oh, man.
All right. So I have to go through it fast because I don't know if I can finish it in the time. First of all, nobody here did a general attack on immigration. Everybody here acknowledges immigration is good if it's done right. Okay. I think most people here. You said that they have a right to leave if they're for hunger, and economic migration is a right. I think none of us said that's not a right. I think you listen to what we're saying. If it's economic migration, then it needs to be economic migration. It cannot use the asylum seeking process if you're an economic migrant. That is the point. As the asylum seeking process is for people whose lives are immediately in danger. So me saying that people who are using the asylum seeking process to do a migration for leveling up economically, that is not saying that economic migration is invalid. You should just go through the right process. You're actually cheating your own people. You're actually committing a crime against your own people who are in danger by doing that, by using the asylum seeking process. And right now, the vast majority of the people who are trying to use the asylum seeking process, their lives are not immediately in danger and they just want a better life. That was the point that we're making. And you're saying that the Irish are a good example because of the potato famine. The Irish is still a false analogy. Yes, again, the Irish, they were economic migrants, which is a lot to have. Also, their values are not backwards, barbaric, violent ideology that is incompatible with Western values. So keep talking about the Irish. The people who were against the Irish coming, they were insane. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Why shouldn't they not come? They're productive people with values compatible to Western values. So that is not a good example. And also, when you say as Western countries, we have the responsibility, again, I will read the responsibility under international law, which is made by Western countries, right? So, as I said, there is no automatic right to be granted asylum. The countries under Western values, the laws, the international laws that were made under Western values, every country has the right to review your case. And if they determine that you do not meet the requirement for you to be in their country, they have the right to basically say no to you. So you have a right to seek asylum, and every country has the right to say fuck off. That is part of Western values for them to. I mean, part of Western values is to defend your borders, defend your nation state against a cultural invasion. That is a huge part of Western value. Final part. And we say we can't allow for them to change their values. Yeah, well, if you let people with inferior values to come in your country and become citizens and then vote, that is how you get your values changed. Denying refugees doesn't make you more like them. Allowing an Islamic invasion of your country and then getting them to vote, that is how you change your values.
Right.
May I rebuttal that real quick?
Yeah, you're entitled for a rebuttal. 1 minute.
Okay. I mean, in a lot of ways, you're right, but I think you're a little bit too general here. I think, first of all, somebody comes in, you don't know what are their reasons, right? So you have to have set up the rules, the regulations, and the follow-up on what you get, right? And that's where the Western countries, the Western cultures who have this problem right now failed and are failing. They don't go in and say, okay, yes, I don't know you, so what are your reasons? That is what you say. Well, but then there's nothing in place to say, well, if it turns out you lied, what are the consequences of that? Or how long do these consequences go? That is something we have to define, because that is what we can do. Well, But that's what I'm saying, that you assume that all the people coming in having that intention, and that you cannot quantify. What you can quantify is these are the rules by which you immigrate. And these are the rules by which you can seek asylum, and that has to be followed up. And that is not set up correctly in the Western country.
All right. I mean, did you write that down? Because it will take a while to get to you.
Okay, so I'm not being too general. I'm talking about averages. I know not all everybody coming from these countries are going to be a problem. What I'm not assuming that all of them have bad intentions. All I need to know is the average is basically the average values, the average methods, the average culture of these people is inferior to what we have. And if you don't have a proper filtering in place, then you need to stop the migration until you have a proper filtering in place. And right now, I know that no country, no Western countries has been able to provide a really proper filtering process because it's very difficult. So if a society is on average has shitty ideas and shitty values, then it makes sense for the survival of my nation to not accept migration from there, even though if not all of them are bad. I'm sorry for those people. We cannot risk our country, we cannot risk destroying our country because some of those people are good. So no, I'm not generalizing, but I also understand that you cannot filter for those people. So, and you haven't been able to, like, we can see the results. So given
Final
that we
point.
can see the results, just stop.
Okay. So now we have Oscar.
Yeah, so this is kind of a question for Armin. I was wondering about the framing of like superior cultures and inferior cultures, and how do we like gauge whether somebody is from a sufficient enough culture, or how do we gauge whether our own culture is superior? And I would say, like, if we use terms like that, it's always important to qualify them in terms of superior, in terms of what. So I would say, like, in terms of guaranteeing like individual liberty and, those kinds of things, I agree. But let's say maybe they might not be superior in terms of like religious adherence, for example, right?